All right, everybody, come on in, come on in. Welcome back to the Wives Club. The Wives Club was started in 2021 when I booked a session with the late, great Kevin Samuels. It wasn't for me. I always say I'm happily average. It's because I believed him when he said the older women should teach the young. So that's what we do here. You all may know me. I am Maggie, the substitute teacher. I make food and femininity content. And each week we review one of Kevin's shows and give our perspective as older women because marriage really is a mindset, whether you're currently, formerly, or future married or want to be married in the future. Lucy, please introduce yourself.
How do I sound? Yes. Okay. So I got the microphone closer to my mouth, so hopefully it's gonna sound a little better. So yes, I am Lucy. It's Friday. It's a hot Friday afternoon here in California, and Maggie and I have that connection with Kevin Samuels. I used to moderate his chats whenever he would go on live streams. It would be a group of moderators looking at some of the comments and some of the shenanigans happening in the chat. But it was so great to be part of someone that has brought so much wisdom and knowledge, and that we are no longer experiencing him in person, but I know that he's watching from heaven. Um, Pretty proud of the job that he created with his channel, the Wives Club, and also with some of the red pill topics that men weren't able to speak about until he started bringing them up to the surface, and here we are.
Here we are. So, the topic of today's stream is actually Kevin Samuels did an episode called Problems with High Value Men. And there's a longer part of the title. He says, let me see if I can turn the sound down so I don't mess it up. What the 50 Cent and Vivica A. Fox thing exposes. So I know Lucy had sent this episode for us to react to. And like she said, Kevin is no longer with us, but his message lives on. And there's been a little bit of news this week. So we thought this would be a good topic since it's trending. But what we always try to do is learn from Kevin's message, learn from real world things that are happening in our own perspective, and hopefully impart that in a way that you can take away some things and get better. If relationships are important to you, I always say we believe in traditional relationships here, but I understand people can do what they want. So if it's not for you, that's totally fine. All right. So as per usual, I have my clips here. We're going to try and go through. We will talk about our takeaways. Love to bring you all in the conversation on the chat. So I've linked the episode in the description. This was one of his longer live streams, a couple of hours. So if you have time, listen to the whole thing. But his monologue, as you all know, is usually in the first 20 minutes, and then he allows women to call in. So, to kick off, one of the things that Kevin said in his monologue, and this one really touched me because I struggle sometimes feeling like, is anything that I say like not just common sense? I still don't understand why anything that I have to say has gone viral. But Kevin actually said that in this episode, and so it was a blessing to me. He said, for a lot of us older people, I'm in my late 40s, a lot of us older people, it's kind of like this conversation about relationships and men and women needing each other and all of the different roles. We've been talking about this for a long time, but he even said in his stream how there's a lot of new people tuning into this space. And admittedly, he said later on in the episode, a lot of people weren't raised in an environment that prioritized relationship. So unfortunately for them, they're hearing some of this stuff for the first time. So that's why we are here. The internet is forever, and hopefully it's helpful. What would you add, Lucy?
I love that on his monologue he talked about he started focusing on the men's side. And he talked about the high value men just starting to become high value mid in their mid 30s and their 40s. And he talked about because men become high value on a later date, it's unfair to ask them to be something before they have gotten to that point. So again, it's one of those things that if a man doesn't talk about that as a woman, I've never heard that. So when he would say little bits of wisdom like that, you create a different perspective as far as your husband and how he's come along in his life, and then you start putting all the pieces together that the world is not an easy thing for men, and for us as women, we are so privileged when it comes to being in the Western world, because we have gotten to the point to say that we don't need them in our world because they've created that world for us. So again, the way that he would start his monologues, amazing, because he always offered some type of wisdom for the men mainly, but then he brought in the women to call in.
Absolutely. And this time I caught it. I want to say thank you so much. You all know Christopher Williams. He has been a very strong supporter of the work that we do here, and so much more behind the scenes that you all don't even know about. So grateful. Thank you for the 9.99 super chat. We appreciate you so much. I want to take a moment, and I'm going to get back to the Kevin clips here, but what Lucy said about, high value men. And you all know Kevin was so polarizing. Some people loved him, some people hated him, but he got the conversation started, or really brought the conversation to the forefront. You can't take that away from him. The whole concept of high value is still being debated today. But just so everybody knows, Kevin Samuels was a professional image consultant. So he had clients who would come to him. Usually people would book a session because they wanted to update their style, their image, or, they had other like professional goals. Thank you so much, BLJ, for the $20 coming in. You all know him and you love him. Brandon Eljet, another one of our day one sponsors. We appreciate you. We've missed you. I hope you're doing well. So I'll update the ticker. We have a new stream sponsor. The stream sponsor is a person who gives the biggest cash app, super chat, whatever. We're just grateful you all are here. Okay, so Kevin Samuels, professional image consultant, and most of his clients were the caliber of men that were either trying to improve their image for personal reasons, but oftentimes because men are driven, they wanted to improve their presence for professional reasons. It could be for, a promotion, or maybe they're new an entrepreneur, or, coming out of the military and going into the work world, whatever it is. And so Kevin had the type of clients that were high value men. He described that, but Kevin was salt of the earth and he always appreciated the hardworking men. One of the things that he said in this stream that really has just been amazing for me is he said, you don't need high value to be happy. And for me, I just kind of felt my shoulders drop, because I think sometimes as women, we hear there's the best thing over there and it's like la 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 la, I just want that. We have no idea what kind of life that requires, and if we even are a fit for that. So for me personally, I'm going to start talking more about masculine men. High value is a component of that, but to Lucy's point, for a man to make himself, and this is the latest clip that went viral, there is so much that they struggle with and that they keep to themselves because they love us and they want to protect us. So I think us showing an appreciation for the work that the man has already done before you catch wind of anything, or the burden that he secretly suffers in silence with, I think would go a long way, ladies. What would you add, Lucy?
I agree, and I think that we need to start bringing back the fact that it's okay to appreciate what they do for us. It's okay to, in public, say, wow, my man this did this for me. You know, the good things, celebrate them for all those good things that our men have done for us. Because again, they're not asking for it, but when they hear it, it hits them in such a good way that it makes them do so much more for us.
Yes, ladies, I'm telling you, there's such a secret to that. Oh boy, do we have a war going on? Oh no. Christopher Williams has come in with another $9.99. So we have two stream sponsors. So I'm going to put Christopher Williams in the chat. We're just going to call it at $20 each. Thank you, thank you, thank you, gentlemen, so much. We appreciate it. Okay, so we've talked about, Kevin often talks about high value men, but I would argue that just about everything that Kevin said, save for a few key things, would apply to all masculine men. So that's what we're going to focus on now. But if you are interested in high value, like Lucy said, Kevin talked about that a little bit, just so we're clear. Most men that are considered high value, they don't arrive at that until well into their 40s. So ladies, oftentimes, if you want the best and the brightest and you want to wait for him to do all that work and then you show up at the finish line, it's a very different relationship from when you find a man that you can happily submit to. He has a vision, he can articulate that vision to you, he's a natural born leader, and he's on his purpose, and you come alongside him while he is working, and you are that support system to him. That is a love like no other, and you cannot speed that up. You can't manufacture that. Men really appreciate loyalty, because the other thing that Kevin said that, got me, I'm a boy mom, two teenage boys. So I'm at the front of watching them make this journey. He said a 25-year-old woman would laugh a 25-year-old man who tried to date her out of the room, because we all know that young men, in their early to mid 20s, they haven't built themselves. They haven't established anything. They can't, command the respect or provide for a wife. So ladies, we have to know that when you find that man that you look at and you're just like, wow, now that's a husband right there. He paid a hefty price, like Kevin said, to separate himself from the pack. What would you add, Lucy?
Yes, unfortunately, with the modern way of doing things, young women are thinking that just because they are men, they already are privileged. I hear it all the time, and it's like, you have no idea the kind of life that they have to live before they get to that point. Even if they're at the same age, a man has had to prove himself over and over again, all throughout his years, to be able to make it in the world. So again, for me, what Kevin, I had the opportunity to learn from Kevin, of the man's world. What does a man have to go through to be the provider, to be the protector, to be all the masculine men that we want them to be? And but then we find somebody like Miss Vivica Fox, and this is what we're going to be talking about, um, calling the men some really horrible terms, just because, bottom line, um, it's sour grapes. She is, um, bitter because she couldn't get the man back then when she was in her prime, and now because she can't get him now she's going back and retaliating against someone that loved her for a while, and they could have been something, but unfortunately, it just didn't work out for them.
Absolutely. So, what are we talking about specifically? So, you all may have heard a clip that's gone viral this week. So, Vivica A. Fox is an older actress. She is now 60, and she went on a talk show talking about she wants to date, she's taking applications, and she has her list of things that she's looking for. Unfortunately for her, she had her guy and she fumbled the bag. years ago when 50 Cent was up and coming, he really liked Vivica A. Fox. And I didn't know this, but they have a 12-year age gap, him being younger and she is the older woman. In my opinion, she should have hitched her wagon to that and shut her mouth. But anyway, her modern woman mindset and being combative and defiant and all of the things ended up making her lose probably the best thing that she ever had. One of the things that I was actually listening to, because so many different content creators are talking about this. So I want to give credit to Crimson Cure. I actually heard her talking about this earlier. And she said something, especially a lot of us professional women who think that, our job and our money, and I'm a reformed modern woman, is going to carry us. We will never outpace. She called him an alpha male. We will never outpace a masculine man over time, because even when he hasn't finished his journey yet, if you see that leadership in him, if you see that decision making, if you see that stoicism, if you see that grit that men have to have, beware. Because even if you're still kind of above him, all of us as we get older as women, we're going to naturally slow down. We're not going to be able to carry the load for a lifetime the way a man is willing to do. And I talked to my man about this earlier, and he said, a lot of us, we women, we think, oh, I've got a job and I've got money. He said, no, you don't. You may have money compared to your little broke girlfriends or your little broke, guy friends, but men are thinking about owning the companies that you want to work for, at least the type of men that we want. So their mindset is so much bigger. I mean, look at 50 Cent now, TV shows and drink. I used to work for the Coca-Cola company. I think he had, is it vitamin water or what? So many different, hands in the pot. And I know it eats her up at night when you had that opportunity, but you couldn't keep it then. And another thing that the Crimson Cure said is the reason why Vivica probably won't get it is because now at 60, you haven't actualized it in all these years since then. And, I put myself on the hot seat for that, being that modern woman in my marriage that unfortunately ended in divorce after 10 years. I bumped my head. And now in my second relationship, whatever I got to do to get on the program is what I do. And I'm the happiest that I've ever been. I love that Kevin said, 50 Cent is not a high value man. I think is it Curtis Jackson is, and name some other big celebrities. So ladies, don't be fooled by the unfinished product. When you are with a lion, believe me, he will come into himself, and that's where you want to be, or you'll be from the outside looking in. What would you add, Lucy?
And I think that's a decision that you as a woman have to make. Are you willing to go through the building blocks of that relationship to get to that point? And that's when you say, yeah, I'm your ride or die, or you just you end up like Vivica, because I'm sure that they probably when they were in their young relationship, there was probably discussion about, what was his vision, what was he planning on doing. And of course, she was at her prime back there, so she thought she had time. And unfortunately for her, for us women, time is not on our side when it comes to our outside, our beauty. So if it's not time, you have to cultivate yourself. You have to, uh, again, just be that perfect woman that once you get older and you don't have the looks, your insides, your essence as a feminine woman is there to offer it for that man. So again, that is something that as women, young women, you have to say, I do want to be part of his world, no matter how uncertain it is right now. But if he's got somebody that supports him all throughout the end result, the benefits for you being there for him all throughout is it multiplies by 100. I promise you, young women. I promise you.
Yes, ladies, I promise you too. My relationship is someone I know a long time ago, grew up with, and it's just to be there. We don't have a crystal ball. There's no guarantee of the future, but if you make your decision and you stick by it, you get everything that you wanted and more because you've put in the time and he trusts you. And that's a thing that a lot of women miss out on because you may think you're great, but like my man says, how do I know that? So you've got some work to do. You've got some convincing to do. You're going to get in the back of the line and work your way up to getting, the privilege that you think you should have on day one. You're not going to get that with a masculine man because nobody gave him anything. So you're not going to get anything just by showing up either. The other thing that Kevin said, actually, Lucy brought up something made me think of my man. He said the same thing. He said, Maggie, your superpower is you're not, I say I'm happily average, right? I know I'm not like a 9 or a 10. I'm not petite. I don't have, a lot of that stuff, but I am so consistent. Simple Southern man. He's like, Maggie, you're like a cool rain that like a slow soaking rain that you don't really think it's doing anything, but over time that old jagged mountain just kind of smooths over, and here you keep coming. You need anything else? You want another plate? Can I help with anything? And all of a sudden that mean old mister is what we call him, just it can soothe the savage beast. Ladies, your femininity, and Lucy and I teach femininity, elegance, and etiquette, it never ages. We all will age, but that warmth and that spirit and that serving a man is something my mom still does for my dad, and they're in their 70s. The other thing Kevin Samuels challenged Vivica about, and this was, when he was with us a couple years ago, the way she talked about him. So, ladies, a teachable moment. The way you talk about your exes speaks volumes. This whole time, 50 Cent has just kind of been living his life and doing his thing. But it seemed like every time he came up in the news, Vivica had some type of dig to say, some type of name calling, some type of, she would just look really, disgusted. And like Lucy said, she's mad at herself. You can't be mad at anybody else. You had it and you couldn't keep it. So I would just advise you, ladies, we've all had heartbreak. We've all had relationships that didn't end the way that we wanted. You've got to take accountability for what you did wrong. Every time I say I'm a reformed modern woman, or I thought my accomplishments, whatever, that is me owning what I did, full stop. If you find yourself saying, well, I know I am, but what are you? Or, this is not me, someone brings it out of me. Or, well, he's just, some type of, little whatever, he's a passport, bro. Now, I've heard it all. But ladies, what that does is it demonstrates to the men and women that you're talking to now, because you never know, someone may try to matchmake for you. You are still the same person you were back then in that relationship because you haven't really identified what you did wrong. We've all done something wrong, which means if you got the man of your dreams right now, you would blow it again because you're the same person doing the same thing, blaming other people, and that will keep you single. What would you add, Lucy?
I absolutely agree. The fact that she keeps going to the past rather than moving on with her life tells Mr. Curtis Jackson that he made the right choice by leaving. So again, she's showing us exactly the reason why she wasn't able um, to connect back when they were young. And men absolutely know when it's the right time for that right woman. And he knew that there was something there, their relationship probably, we don't know what happened in their relationship, but the fact that um, they didn't solidify means that it wasn't the right match. And the fact that she keeps at 60 years old, she's still 59, I think. I don't know if she's actually 60. She's still trying to think that she has options about the man that she wants, and she has demands about what she wants on that man. It gives us an idea that she's working in a state of fantasy and make believe.
That's so true. Let's talk about age now. And I'm just going to call it you all. I don't know when she officially turned 60. Vivica A. Fox, for all intents and purposes, is a 60-year-old woman. That is, I want to say old, if not elderly, but like he said, five years away from, being a senior citizen. I will put myself on the hot seat. I am 48. I think of myself as a 50-year-old woman, or as Kevin would say, half a hundred. Ladies, we've got to stop acting like Kevin called that out in this episode. We've got to stop acting like we're still a woman in our 20s when you are good and grown. You had your 20s. We all had that. There was a time for the naivete, there was a time for being, silly. And I have my silly moments, but you have to be able to compose yourself when it's time to talk about serious things in a serious way. You're a 60-year-old woman. I'm a 50-year-old woman. One of the things that Kevin said in this episode, he said only older women are upset about the wall. If you ask a 22, 25-year-old woman, the wall is coming, they're just kind of like, okay, that's fine. But he said the women that are upset with the wall is because they knew they had their man and they blew it. This is a very painful truth, but ladies, if you are 40, 50, 60, there was a man that would have made a wonderful husband for you, that approached you and had serious intentions. And for whatever reason, either you didn't take him seriously or you didn't take the relationship seriously. Because what you said, Lucy, about Vivica, it shows that Curtis made the right choice. What also shows that Curtis made the right choice is that Vivica has no marriage or family to speak of 30 years later. It's different if you try in a relationship and it doesn't work out and then you move on and you have a life with someone else. But it does speak volumes that at 60 you have no life or marriage to show for it. That's actually I know it haunts her because she has shared that she has regrets. The other thing that Kevin said in this episode, let's see what y'all are saying in the chat. Aaron Laura says, and with her being an Hollywood actress, this shows that all the money in the world doesn't matter to the men that she wants. That is so true. And we could ring the bell on that one. Ladies, do not listen to, the feminists among us. I heard this on Crimson Cure earlier too, but the message that's out there that you don't need a man, that the trips will make you happy, that the shopping sprees will make you happy, that the happy hours and all these amazing hot girl decades will make you happy. They won't, because a lot of these women in their older years are pretending like they're happy, and we know they are, you know, I'm not going to say they're crying at night, but they're not happy. I would just say this for the younger women: consider the source and look at how someone's living their life. And if that's the life that you would aspire to, then you can take their advice, to heart. But if they're selling you a dream that they don't even really believe in, I would go the other way. The last thing I wanted to say about age, Kevin said he doesn't consider a woman in her 30s to be young. He said early 30s is middle age. And he said something else. If you talk to wedding planners, he said, take me out of it. If you talk to wedding planners, if you turn 30 and you're just now thinking, okay, maybe I'll be ready for marriage, that is actually old for a first marriage. And I'm glad we're actually just kind of saying this now. I know women that are just kind of like, whatever is for me is for me. I don't care what people think. It'll come. Kevin went on a whole tirade about, it'll come in God's time. That's fine. I'm not going to argue you down. Believe me, do what you want. But if you delay until your 30s, you're making a lot harder for yourself, and you're not a blushing bride. Let's just stop playing, because you've lived your life and done whatever you wanted to do. What would you add, Lucy?
I absolutely agree. And it gives I think we talked about this on Wednesday about a woman already thinking about getting married and then maybe having children at 30. You have your window is getting uh, just smaller the older you get to have those babies. So again, it's nature. You also are fighting against nature, saying, "No, no, I'll wait a little longer. I'll put my career first, and then babies later." That's going to be a tough thing to do because again, our bodies are designed specifically to carry those babies while we are young. The older you get, the more issues you might have. There's birth defects, and you got to be at that point. You start being a little more thoughtful about what it is that you want your family to look like. And at 30, you're pushing it. How many children would you have? Probably two, the most three that could be a viable pregnancy before you get to geriatric pregnancy, and then your body starts acting out because your estrogen, all of those hormones and all of that stuff, it starts working against you because there's your window of fertility starts slowing down.
That's so true. So, young ladies, do it the natural way. I know there's celebrities out here that are having babies in 40s and 50s. You don't know what they had to put their body through. You don't know how many nannies and support staff and whatever. That's not our life. So don't take that example. Erin Laura had a comment here. She said reproductively 30 is past middle age for most women. And that's why Kevin called it the danger zone. 27 to 35, your hair needs to be on fire. And if you're not, that's fine. Like I said, I am not going to fight you. And I don't want it more than you want it for yourself. But if you're just kind of walking around like, oh, I'll think about it. I'm not there yet. Okay. But just know this, ladies, just like you want the best for you, the man of your dreams wants the best for him. And no man who has built himself is going to intentionally choose a woman who's going to be harder for him to have the family of his dreams when he's waited so long to get there. There's a reason that men need that time. So you can date someone your own age, or you can try to date someone younger as a woman dating a younger man. But it's, like Kevin said, a lot of those relationships, don't last, and the women know it. Kevin said that in this episode. Samuel the Infamous says, my ex-wife was 36 when we met and 38 when we married. I was her third husband. Turns out divorce could be a habit too. Well, sorry to hear that. Yeah, the Clue Channel says Vivica's last chance was 50 Cent. I wanted to park on here for a moment. And, again, I know a lot of people are making light of this. It's actually quite sad. I mean, I'm not trying to poke fun at, this is trending right now, so I think we can learn from it. But she had a career, like a lot of professional women, boss babes. You think all this stuff that you have is really going to help you. But one of the things that Kevin said in this episode is that she failed to turn her career and all that access that she had into an opportunity. And that is probably one of the most tragic things. We talked about this on our Wednesday stream too. Ladies, if you're over 30, I implore you to get off the, trying to compete with younger women. And I said that women that are past their prime need to work their network for a suitable mate. Because if you get to 30, you've had a decade of doing whatever you wanted to do. Hopefully it was productive. And Kevin said in this episode, he actually said it for the men, but I think it's the same thing goes for women. He was telling the men that you need to be, men need that wolf pack, but they also said that men need to be around FBI women, the feminine, beautiful, inspirational women, so they can see how feminine women behave, how we support men, how we naturally submit to them, how we get on the program, even if there's no romantic relationship. I mean, you all heard, MTR, had kind words to say about me when I met him in London. But when men see that, then it's kind of like, oh, okay, that's what I'm looking for. Then he looks for his woman from amongst those women. Ladies, I would say the same thing applies to you. You need to put yourself around the caliber of men that are husband material. Stop wasting time with your single girlfriends. If you want to be married, find the type of men that are moving in a way that you like. Find out what they need, study them, practice in that space, and then allow your husband to find you from those circles. So I love that. And that's a huge miss that Vivica did with all these years of acting, all the access, all the networking, all the connections that she had. None of them, nobody in your circle could say, hey, I know somebody that'd be great for you. Let me introduce you to so and so. To me, that's really sad. What would you ask, Lucy?
And I also, that goes back to what we've been talking about women making themselves something more than what they are. So even when she was in her prime and there were those offers coming in of your network of friends, she probably said no to many, thinking that something else is gonna come by that's better. Always thinking about there's a better opportunity when you're missing all of those opportunities as your clock is ticking. It's pretty sad, and I usually, I think back about my two relationships, and I knew from the minute that we started dating on both situations that they were going to be my forever men. The first one didn't work out because I think I've mentioned it before. He wanted children. Unfortunately, it wasn't meant for it to happen. And then my husband, my current husband, from the first date that we went out on, I knew that he was the guy that I was going to be spending a lot of time with because he had that thing. And that goes back to women. I think I read somewhere there's this dating coach that talks about something about a revolving dating where you have all of these different boyfriends at the same time. Ladies, do not do that because the more men you're trying to grasp from, you're not going to be able to focus on that one special one that's going to take you to the finish line. So again, it's um, it's it's pretty sad, but the only person that can blame herself for not securing that relationship, those relationship, is her.
That is so true, Lucy. I mean, ladies, these experiences that you all are collecting, like, sheets, pages and pages of experiences just so you can have bragging rights, not only is that masculine, but it actually damages you. I really think, Kevin used to talk about that. You only need one to get the carousel, right? To get out of the dating game and go make your life. And when you have all of that, and then gosh, pile on social media on top of that, when you have all that attention, think of yourself. I'll use myself as an example. I have gone to restaurants. You all know I love food. I've gone to restaurants, and when they put the menu in front of you and it's like a book, like pages and pages, and I'm supposed to pick one thing, like I can literally feel myself getting anxious. He laughs at me. I will literally close the menu, look at the waiter and say, I like everything. Please surprise me. I have done that because it's just too much. I think the same thing happens with all the experiences you have with men. Because let's face it, ladies, I know people can say what they want to say, but you're not out here 20, 30 years chaste. You're not a nun. You're doing whatever you want to do. And then when you get tired, you want to say, I'm out here and I'm taking applications. To me, that's just preposterous. But, again, people can do what they want to do. Let's see, whatever. Another thing that Kevin said, the end consumer of a woman is a man. And I love that. And basically what he's saying, ladies, if you want relationship, you can kick and scream and fight and alligator roll like the toddlers do until you get what you want. But ultimately, you're going to get up, you're going to dry your crying eyes, and you're going to figure out men haven't changed that much. They want peace, they want support, They want love, they want loyalty, they want consistency, and they require femininity. One of the things that Vivica went off about 50 Cent saying he prefers exotic women. Look, people like what they like. Either they like you or they don't. To me, it's not the end of the world. But I love that Kevin said, you know what, in our community, you know what's exotic? Femininity. So you can really stand out, even if you're average like me. But if you really perfect that and are committed to using your superpower in a way that separates you from the pack, I think you have a better shot of getting what you want instead of trying to argue him down, always be right, that need to be right, always got to have that last word, got to compete with him. Well, he got a promotion, so that means I got a promotion. You know, Kevin said in this episode, in our community, like, women are so hungry for getting it right and being so like smug with ourselves. And he said, okay, so you win the argument, but you go home and you turn off the light and that bed is cold. So ultimately you got a decision to make, you know. And I would just say that if you want to be with a man, find out what the kind of man that you want wants and work every day to be the best version of that. What would you add, Lucy?
I agree. He did talk about if you want to get married, you got to know your men. You have to hang around environments where those men that you want to be next to and watch them, observe what do they want from you. You are the product. What do they want? And customize yourself to what he wants. Of course, they're going to see whether you're being fake or not. They can spot it right away. But that femininity, that softness, it's natural to us. And then you start again, and it goes back. It's funny because all of these things, it takes me back to being an executive assistant, being able to anticipate what it is that your man wants, that your CEO wants. You would know exactly what he was thinking because you observe, you watch, you listen. So again, ladies, it's just, it's just take the time to learn your man and you will be successful in that relationship.
I love this. Erin Laura says femininity in women is considered exotic in our society. Maggie, that really, wow, that really says a lot. Unfortunate. It is unfortunate for the masses, but for the dear souls that are watching this either live or in the future, this could be your come from behind. This could be what sets you apart. You know, it's kind of like that blue ocean strategy. If you realize that you are around amongst a lot of combative, loud, argumentative, defiant, difficult women, be the woman that says, I can help you with that. Sure, no problem. My guy today, you know, his son is starting a summer job. I was like, okay, does he need any extra supplies, you know, socks, whatever? Can I take, you know, can I order some stuff for you? He was like, yeah, you know what? We're running low on that. Absolutely. Ordered it overnight. It'll be here in a couple of days. Like, it doesn't really take that much. But like Lucy said, being an executive assistant, number one, what it takes is want to. You got to have that desire, ladies, to be a support system and serve a man. If it just boils your blood to make his plate, that's fine. Be alone. That really, do not twist yourself into a pretzel if you cannot fathom being a support system. Just don't do it. It's you will. Nobody is going to cry for you. The other thing is, you know, Lucy talked about being an executive assistant. The best assistants study their principal. We all see it at work. They know exactly how he likes his presentations. They know his schedule. When is a good time to interrupt? When does he need quiet time? They have studied that man or woman, because there are women executives, and they know exactly how to fit right into the way that they work and be useful. Ladies, if you can do that at work, you better be able to do it for your man, because I'm going to tell you, my man will say, do not show me that you can get on the program for somebody else. And I ask you something small and it's a problem, it will not go over well. So I'm just telling you that, ladies. The other thing, oh gosh, I had something that I wanted to say when you were talking about being an executive assistant, about the professional women. I think it'll come back to me, but Oh, there was something on the tip of my tongue. We got Sister Camila in the house. She says, "Hi, Maggie." Samuel says, "I've known a number of women who weren't Helen of Troy, but had an attraction prettier women didn't because they weren't afraid to be women." Yes, ladies, that is so true. You are not going to compete with a man as a man. Your femininity really is your superpower. What would you add, Lucy?
I'm glad that Sam brought that up because I think about my nieces too. There's my younger niece. Um, she oozes femininity, and unfortunately, at school, the other girls try to bully her because she's different. And again, we women can be cruel to each other. So I see that with my nieces, going out there, and it's like, uh, the reason that they're being that way is because she's different. And the boys, she's got the boys, they drive her places. She asks for ice cream, they bring her ice cream. She's got the boys eating from the palm of her hand. And it's just because she's a really ladylike girl that loves to be around everyone. And it shows, and the boys love it. So even when you're very young, you have that, but you just have to be proud of it and understand that there's going to be those that are not going to take it as a good thing. It's their loss. You go on your trajectory of being feminine, delicate, and the boys will come. I am telling you.
Yes, they will come in droves. Men are just drawn to it, you all. We need to stop fighting nature. We are built this way for a reason. I always say we are not equal. We're equally valued, but I think our differences are beautiful. I love what the Clue Channel says here. That's why we need to do away with the word partner. I die a little bit inside every time I hear partner. He or she says we are not partners. And that's true. And here's the thing, ladies, use the language that you want to. It's fine. But I was listening to Real Femme Sapien, and she said the word partner, it just has this, like, there's no romance in it. There's no love in it. When I say husband, you know what a husband is. When I say wife, you know what a wife is. When you say partner, that means you can move this piece and just put someone else in that place. I don't think that's really what we want. And my man says, yeah, we're not partners, because when I say we're up at 6 a.m., let's go, y'all aren't really trying to ride out the way that the men are. So again, I would avoid that language. What I wanted to say, I made a note in here about this woman who called in being disingenuous. So after the monologue, Kevin had a few women call in, and one of the ones who called in, she was 55, a yoga teacher. She had been married for 6 years and then got divorced. And then, other than that, the only other relationship she had was high school. So Kevin said, for 30 years, you have pretty much been doing whatever you want to do. You have no track record of working with a man. You have no history of getting on anybody's program. What is it that you're asking for, now? But he challenged her with something. He asked her, why? Why now? Why haven't you prioritized this? Again, ladies, 50 is not the new anything. 50 is 50. Somebody's grandma by now. But the way she answered the question, oh, thank you. We got a triple sponsor. Hello. We got a triple stream sponsor. Thank you, the Uncle Junior Network, for the $20. So I'll update you in the chat with Christopher Williams and Brandon Eljet. We appreciate you so much. If you all go back and you listen to this episode, the way she answered the question really struck me. So he asked her, why no other relationships? Why have you not prioritized this? She said, the first answer was, my career. He said, what do you do? She said, I'm a yoga teacher. He said, have you always been a yoga teacher? She said, no, before that, I was a hairstylist. He said, I know too many hairstylists, yoga teachers, massage therapists, whatever. They seem to be able to get married. And then she said, well, maybe I didn't prioritize it. If you listen the way that she answered the question, she was throwing something against the wall, throwing spaghetti against the wall to see what sticks. which means, ladies, she's guessing for the right answer or the acceptable answer to just move on to the next. Okay, that helped me find somebody, which also means she has zero accountability. She has not dealt with the real reason that she has been single for 30 years. And Kevin said, the truth is, we were just not raised to prioritize it. She was like, okay, yeah, that's fair. Here's my point, ladies. The men that you want, the caliber of men that you want, are going to ask you some direct questions. You need to be able to give a direct answer. If you're tap dancing around it, if you're hem hawing around it, I'm in the South. If you cannot answer a question, if you sound like you're guessing, as the kids say, at your big age of 55, you're not ready for a relationship. So stop acting like you want what you want right now, but someone asks you, so what have you been up to? The only acceptable answer, per Kevin, and I agree, for someone who says my career, you need to be like a Supreme Court justice or some international entrepreneur or something so demanding that you didn't have time for a relationship. The 99.9% other of us have been able to figure it out. Both my mom and dad have PhDs, and mom met my dad in college, and they got married right after college, and they did everything together. No excuse. So stop it with the career. What would you add, Lucy?
That part where he talked about her being having a boyfriend between 16 and 19 and then jumping to 36 to a marriage, and then for whatever reason not making it happen, the marriage getting divorced. He said your track record doesn't show that you're able to carry on a cooperative relationship all of these years in between. It gives somebody pause to say, what have you been doing through there? And I think that that's when she started saying that it was her career. And he's like, that's no career, that's a job. So again, men see all those gaps. It's funny because it's like a resume. When you go to an interview, if you have a resume that has gaps, the interviewer is going to ask why there are those gaps in your resume. What have you been doing? Have you been volunteering? Have you been working somewhere else? So again, you're going to have to justify all of those different places that you have kind of like a blank space in your life. And again, the point was that he said, it seems to me that you have not had the opportunity to show that you can cooperate with that one special person for so many years. You've been single most of your life. That was my aha moment. He's right. She has been single for all that time, except for those little bits and pieces of 3 years between the 16 and 19, and then I believe she said 7 or 8 years in her marriage.
That's so true. I'm glad you all are getting this. Kim K said, yes, I had to be honest and say I probably wasn't fit for a relationship and didn't prioritize marriage. Ladies, honesty goes a long way. And why is this important? I know we're beating this drum here, but there's a reason. Kevin said that men don't want to come home and they already have to be argumentative, defiant, competitive. That's how men survive out in the world, to separate themselves from the pack and make themselves that masculine man. It requires that chiseling. They don't want to come home to that. So those of you all who have been single your adult life, your whole adult life, what that shows is you have no experience cooperating with a man. It has been your way or the highway your whole adult life. So how likely is someone like that when a man says, no, we're not going out tonight, we're going to stay in, and I would just like a home cooked meal? You're going to be blinking fast and slow because nobody's ever told you no. And I know this stream is not about single mothers, but single mothers understand this is the same reservation that a lot of men have taking on a ready-made family. A man needs to be king in his own castle. If you want something traditional, if you want to be a partner or roommate, go for it. I am not going to fight you. But Kevin even said this in another stream. When you have a history of being, judge, jury, and executioner, Nobody has challenged your authority. Nobody has said, you know what, no, she's not wearing that. Take those fake eyelashes off, put some clothes on. You're not going out like that. When nobody has told your kid what is appropriate or not, that's when the disagreeability starts. So when you're in your own world and you're in your own bubble and you're an army of one, you don't realize how combative you are. Then you get into a relationship and you're like, he's controlling, he's this or that. It's not that. You have no experience working with a man. And I thought about this. I've been in a relationship my entire adult life. I met my ex-husband at 18. He was my only college boyfriend. Married him after college, 10 years of marriage. After I got divorced, I'm in my second relationship. So I really know no other way. I have the opposite problem. I have to watch all of y'all and figure out, is that what's going on out here? So just keep that in mind, ladies. Men are going to ask, so you better have an honest answer. Uncle Junior says honest answer. And he says, yeah, I do not want to come home and compete with my wife after a long day. So think about it. You don't have to tell anybody, but you don't want to lie to yourself, because the men can sniff it out. Because when she started tap dancing around that answer, he said, ma'am, you are disingenuous. And if you get that character trait that you're kind of like a little, liar, or you'll kind of skirt around the truth, it's over. What would you add, Lucy?
I believe isn't she the one that also brought in God to be the one that choose for her? And then they went into this, they got into this Christianity back and forth. And I think that she also said that she's been healthy. She's 55, but she's been healthy. She studied health and wellness, and and she is ready to now become, that one special person. And he's like, no, how has it worked out for you up to this point? So again, this was an amazing conversation. He had a conversation with a 55-year-old, and then he followed up. I think I have the ages highlighted here, and then he also brought in a man. So he had about three other people that joined the call, but it was just amazing to hear him just point out some of the weaknesses in their points that they were making.
Yeah, everybody. Thank you all so much. I mean, we like to bring these to you once a week. Now, we will skip the next week. That is the first Friday of June. I am traveling again, but also the Kevin Samuels channel has new content on the first Friday of every month. I really encourage you all, if you have time, to listen to this episode. He used the Vivica and 50 Cent comments to kind of talk about it, but ultimately, high value men, or men that are outspoken, men that are out front, men that have that thing that we want, they're not going to change. They're not going to lower their standards. So either you decide to get on the program, or be prepared. I will say age alone. I'm not going to say buy a dog and die alone. I'm going to say you're going to age alone. And if you're okay with that, ladies, be okay with that. But yeah, to answer your question, Lucy, this was another one of those women who, was kind of saying, what God has for me is for me. And she was kind of making excuses for all these relationship gaps that, well, I didn't want to just kind of be out there. Ladies, you're not fooling anybody. You're not going to be able to turn on the spirituality or the Christianity thing when it suits you, because he checked her on that. If you really believe that God ordains relationships, you would not have waited until you're 55 to now be seriously asking about it, because only serious relationships count. All this other foolishness that people are doing, it doesn't count. It doesn't mean anything for the real relationships with the caliber of men that you want. Yes. So with that, we're going to go ahead and end it. Thank you all so much. Like I said, we'll take next week off, but we will be back on June what is that, the 14th or something, y'all? July, I'm sorry. No, June 14th. But we've got quite a catalog here, and We're really grateful. Thank you to our sponsors. We had a quad sponsorship tonight. We had Christopher Williams coming in with $20. Thank you so much. We had Brandon L. Jet. No, I'm sorry, we had a triple. Brandon L. Jet coming in with $20, and then the Uncle Junior Network. So a triple sponsorship. Yes. Any final words to close us out, Lucy?
My husband has set the grill on. I gotta go make some carne asada with rice and beans and fried plantains and maybe some salad. So I'm ready to go. So thank you so much for being with us here. It's Friday, and have a great weekend.
All right, everybody. Until then, we will see you in a couple weeks. Thank you all so much, and good night.